What is up, YouTube? Back from another YouTube video. We're here with the Metamorphosis Legend Lost Sector Guide for Season of the Witch. Now, to find this, you want to go to your Destinations tab, go to Savathun's Throne World here on the lower left side of the map, and then you're going to spawn into the Quagmire. Then all you got to do is follow the path to the left when you spawn. So I'm going to show you how to get here, but if you do have the little icon, you can ping it, and then it'll give you a waypoint that you can follow. But going here is pretty simple. Just follow the left, and then I'll show you exactly where you have to go. So now that we've entered Miasma, this is where we're going to want to go. And you can either go right or left. I'm just going to go left for this one. Okay, there's a public event starting. But we're going to make our way past this. And I went the wrong way. Okay, it's right here. And it's a little confusing, but just make your way towards this area. There's a whole lot of AI that's going to be here right now, so I'm going to try to clear this out while I go over the modifiers and everything. But you can see, this is what it looks like from a distance. This is the Lost Sector icon. And we're going to go here. And let's just go for the modifiers. We have Shielded Foes, you'll face combatants with Arc and Solar Shields. Legend modifiers, which are Locked Loadout and Extra Shields. Equipment Lock, Limited Revives, Overloaded Unstoppable Champions. Arc Threat, 25% increase to incoming arc damage. Scorched Earth, enemies throw grenades significantly more often. And Overcharged Weapons, weapon overcharges from the seasonal artifact are active in this activity. Kinetic weapons do increased damage when your subclass element matches an active surge. Strand Surge, 25% bonus to outgoing strand damage. Arc Surge, 25% bonus to outgoing arc damage. Then Overcharged Machine Gun, which is a 25% bonus to machine gun damage. Now we have rewards. If completed solo, exotic leg armor is rare, and enhancement cores are uncommon. Recommended power is 1830, but 1810 and above you should be just fine. So we're going to get into the loadout, and then we'll get into the gameplay. Now our loadout is looking very similar to yesterday's. As you can see, we have Strand subclass, Soak Strike, with Marksman Dodge, Triple Jump, Threaded Spike, Threadling Grenades, Widow's Silk, and Threaded Spectre. Then for fragments, we have Thread of Generation, Thread of Evolution, Thread of Binding, and Thread of Continuity. Then for our weapon, Malfeasance, this is my go-to gun as of right now. It's gotten like a buff apparently since the new update, and it's doing increased damage. And on top of that, if you have the Catalyst, it does even more against champions because of the Vorpal Weapon perk. So if you can, I highly recommend using a Malfeasance. And if you have the seasonal artifact here, the mod that has Overload Hand Cannon, this will allow you to use Malfeasance as both counter to unstoppable champions as well as overload champions. So you only have to worry about using one weapon to stun both. You don't have to worry about throwing abilities or using another gun. Malfeasance is doing it all right now, so hopefully this doesn't get patched. But you can see that's pretty much the main reason I'm using it. Two champions with just one gun, as well as it's doing pretty good damage. Now for the secondary slot, contingency plan is what I have. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, because I rarely use this. I had this just because in this first room, if I needed to do damage from range and stuff like that, I'll pull out the contingency plan scout rifle and I'll just shoot for a little bit. But in most cases, I would much rather prefer to tell you to use circular logic, your heavy, in the first room. That way you can deal with a lot of ads quicker. But again, use whatever you're comfortable with here in the second slot, preferably some type of arc weapon. That way you take advantage of that arc damage buff. But that's just my recommendation. Now for the heavy slot, circular logic, and this is one of my favorite LMGs. It has Hatchling, precision final blows, rapidly defeating targets with non-precision weapon final blows, spawn Threadling at the target's location, and it's very useful. The Threadling is just extra damage. It's free damage for doing pretty much nothing, and it's very useful. I have a backup mag on it as well. That way I can increase the magazine. But again, this is just my loadout. I've been using it since last season, and it's one of my favorite heavies at this point. Now for the armor, we have Ashes to Assets and Kinetic Siphon on the helmet. You can see Ashes to Assets is you gain bonus super energy on grenade kills, and Kinetic Siphon is rapid kinetic weapon final blows create an orb of power. We have two of those. That way when we stack them, the potency is increased for generating these orbs. And if you want, you can take one off and put on Harmonic Siphon. So rapid strand weapon final blows create orbs of power. And one way you can approach that is by getting a lot of kills with your circular logic. For example, if you're using that at the start, that will generate orbs instead of only Malfeasance doing it. But that's gonna do it for the helmet. Now for the arms, you're running firepower. Your grenade final blows create orbs of power. Grenade kickstart, when your grenade energy is fully expended, you gain grenade energy, and additionally your armor charge is consumed and you gain additional grenade energy for each stack. Fastball increases grenade throw distance, and just to show you, fastball really isn't that important. I only have it on because that's the only other option that I can put on, so I just want to take advantage of that. Now when it comes to the chest piece, this is Artifice armor, and you can see it has a void damage resistance and a arc damage resistant mod. And I do want to show you here that it is pretty much, this Artifice armor has a second, or I should say a secret slot here. For example, if you're using regular armor, you won't have access to this slot, and with Artifice armor you do get a bonus here. So you can see I have void and arc. If you don't have Artifice armor, I just recommend running one void, one arc. But if you do, you can see I have another void one on. Again, make changes where necessary, put whatever you think is more useful, but this is just my recommendation. Now for leg armor, we have the Star Eater scales, exotic, and these have Feast of Light, which is when you pick up orbs of power, you overcharge your super. And how this is going to work is once you fill up your super bar by picking up orbs or just getting enough kills, you will be able to pick up orbs after that. And when you pick up those orbs, they will give you Feast of Light times 1, times 2, times 3, and times 4. Every time you pick up an orb, it's going to increase by 1 until you reach times 4, where it's going to max out. And when you have Feast of Light times 4, that's basically the max damage output you can put with your super in that scenario, because you can't overcharge it after that. So that's why I'm running Star Eater scales, so whenever I do pop my super, it's going to do increased damage. And we have Strand Weapon Surge with Kinetic Weapon Surge. And Strand Weapon Surge is your strand weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have an armor charge, and your armor charge now decays over time. The Kinetic Weapon Surge is the same thing, but it's your kinetic weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have an armor charge. So pretty useful here. That way when we pick up orbs, our Malfeasance is going to do increased damage as well as our Circular Logic, so just keep that in mind. Then when it comes to the cloak, 2 time dilation mods. Your decaying armor charge has a longer duration, and then Bomber, which reduces grenade cooldown when using your class ability. So whenever we use our dodge, it's going to help reduce grenade cooldown, which is great. But that's going to round it out for everything here. I'm just going to show you one last time on the artifact. You want to make sure you have the Overload hand cannon, that way you can pair it with both Malfeasance, so you can stun Overload and Unstoppable champions with the same gun. So with that being said, we're going to switch over to the gameplay now. So we're in the Lost Sector now, and you can see we just loaded in. And as you make your way here, this is where I would recommend just using your heavy ammo if you can on the red health bar enemies, and then focus on the champions later. You can see the thought process was to use the scout rifle for a bit at long range. But as you can see, the grenade spam is crazy, the solar attack is crazy, the void, everything that's going on here. So you can see I was trying to pick off these stasis enemies, that way they didn't rush me and then end up freezing me in place. That way if there's a nade or something, they freeze you in place, they throw a nade on you, then you pretty much are dead. So you can see throttling grenades pretty useful here, just spamming them, trying to get them across the map. And watch out for these as well. They'll try to trap you and get you stuck in one spot until you destroy them. So when you see them, just break them. And you can see they also throw them here to make the champion immune. You can see I end up taking a lot of damage here. Just moving up and backing up is the name of the game. A heavy weapon here would have been way better instead of just using the scout rifle as well as Malfeasance here. You can see right here I got frozen, and thankfully I threw throttling grenades, but if I would have sat there and they thrown a grenade or something, then it might have been a restart for me there. But you can see once you pretty much have one champion that you can isolate, that's when I recommend just trying to use Malfeasance and stunning them. For me, it's just really good damage. As you can see, obviously it's not the greatest damage ever, it's not going to one-shot, but you can see I rather take this than having to shoot an LMG, reload, have to wait again. I rather just use Malfeasance. But there is going to be one more champion as well, as you can see right there. And there's going to be more AI, but they're going to be fighting kind of the immune Hive Knight, I should say. But you can see on the left side there is my Overload champion that I have to deal with again. And I try to clear out the AI around him, that way he couldn't make the other AI immune with the little purple thing that he throws. So you can see him just spam the Malfeasance, stun him, and then just keep hitting crits. And again, I have this really bad habit of sitting on my heavy ammo and not using it, so using heavy would have been ideal. So if you're watching this, try to do that as well. But you can see, boom, easy kill right there. Now all we have is AI, and to be honest, for these AI, you can use your heavy too, but I ended up just using malfeasance and grenades. Now when you get to this back part, you are going to want to shoot these crystals. That's how you make this Hive Knight unimmune. That way you can do damage to him, because otherwise you won't be able to damage him until you shoot those crystals. But you can see Scorn will be fighting him, and then we'll make our way towards the Knight and kill him. And again, malfeasance, if you hit crits, it's pretty easy again, but LMG or heavy would just do a lot more damage. Now that you've cleared it out, you will be able to walk past over here. Now when you reach in this little room, you are going to have to go towards the back and then shoot this right here in order to further make your way down here. You don't have to shoot it all like I'm doing here. I just did it just to show you. But I recommend waiting here for a little bit, because you are going to see these little screebs, the Scorn kind of exploding mini enemies, as you can see. I recommend taking all of them out first, that way they can't kill you. And then if you can, try to just shoot the Overload Champion from up here. I believe he ends up backing up for a little bit. Yeah, you can see he starts moving. But I'm still able to stun, but just watch out because that solar damage is a lot. And you can see I throw a decoy, try to get my Threllings here to go do some extra damage. And then I get a stun. But unfortunately, I was like, you know what, I'd rather just wait instead of dropping down. And thankfully, he wasn't fully healed, so I can stun him. He did get a little bit of health, but again, I didn't want to drop yet just because I think there is 2 more Screebs after this, as well as an Unstoppable Champion. And the last thing I want is 2 champions shooting at me and pushing me, so that's why I took one out when I was up here. Now you can see as soon as you take him out, you can drop. And then you are going to have the Unstoppable Champion down here. So you can see I was trying to stun him first. And you can see there's some Screebs and red health bar enemies. Again, an LMG like I had, the Circular Logic, could have been great here, but I just fully relied on malfeasance. And you can see just keep hitting crits and you should have no problem. But I do want to know also, in the back of this room, you are going to have to do that crystal shooting thing again with the Hive Knight. So you can see I'm shooting my decoy that way. I get some Threllings to do some extra damage. Get a finisher, clear that out. Now you can see once you take him out, there's going to be 1 enemy left, and it's that Knight. So go for the crystals. They'll be in different spawns, I believe. They're just RNG, they're random every time. But they're not too hard to find. And then after you take them out, you're going to have to take out the Knight. So you can see we did a finisher. Now we're going to make our way towards the back here, where you again have to shoot through this wall or whatever you want to call it here. But I just destroyed most of it to show you. Again, you don't have to do this. You can just make a small hole and then jump in, but that's completely up to you. Here you can see what I decided to do here is wait for my Threlling grenades to respawn. So that's kind of why I dance here and stuff like that. But if you can, try to make sure you have all your abilities with you. That way, once you do drop, you can have a decoy to put down and distract the enemies. That way you have Threllings. That way when the enemies spawn, you can spam them. That way they help get rid of some of the AI. So hopefully this is done pretty soon. We should be right there. There we go. I drop. And once we get here, you can position yourself anywhere you want. But where I'm looking here is where the boss is going to spawn with the Unstoppable Champion. You can see I was able to stun him, but then I was already getting pushed by this AI, and I wanted these Threllings to at least, you know, get rid of some AI. And you can shoot the crystals now. However, I recommend getting rid of the Unstoppable Champion first, because you don't want to do boss DPS and then you're fighting an Unstoppable Champion and the boss at the same time. So be very careful where you hit your shots. But you can see I'm stunning, I'm doing good damage. The only problem was the boss started, you know, walking towards me, and then the champion was hiding behind the boss, and I really didn't want to let him heal. So you can see I'm trying to stun him again, but he's hiding directly behind the boss with the immune shield. So I had to run around, and you can see the damage is no joke there. If I would have taken a couple more hits, I instantly would have died. So I kept running around while also keeping an eye on where the boss was going, as well as the champion. Then once I clear him out, you can see here I was getting ready to shoot the crystals. And again, just be smart kind of how you do this. If you see the bosses next to you, you kind of want to have some good range. That way, as soon as you pop your super, you're right next to them. That way, you're not wasting too much time. Because this is time gated. I'd say you have like maybe 10-15 seconds to do damage. And then whenever you run out of that time, you can see the boss is going to go back to being immune. So you can see I popped my super. And I wasted too much time there, to be honest. You can see I almost killed him. Like, it was way more than enough time to do it, but I fumbled. You can see here I tried to destroy the crystal with the super, but I had to do it again. Thankfully, not a whole lot of other ads spawn, so I was able to just shoot the crystal, and then I ended up switching to my machine gun here in order to do boss damage. And I didn't want to wait for a third run, so I was like, screw it, just use the LMG. And you can see right there we got it done. Again, not the cleanest boss kill. I would much rather have the one phase, but it is what it is. Ended up two phasing it. But you get your reward back here, and it's this big chest, and you can see that we've got no exotics. So unfortunately, that's just the RNG loot pattern at this point. But that's gonna do it for the video. If you found it useful, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss another video. Playlist with all my other Season of the Witch Legend Lost Sector guides will be popping up right now, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.